Okay, this is part C. If you have not watched A and B first, watch part A and part B first. It's not going to do you any good to pick up right here. So where I left off in part A, that video was made on the 3rd of November. Where I left off on that video, I was discussing for me to be who I am. You can imagine that I'm going to have some disturbing things to say about your existence. So in part B, that was created last night on the 20th of November. And where I left off with that, I was talking about the different types of demon possession and how what I've discovered and witnessed it to be is different than the textbook answer. And that's where I'm going to be picking up today. The issue is right now, this interference issue that I'm having. I've had to shrink this project. I've had to shrink this project on 4 separate occasions. I started on it in August. Let's be sure. Projects. September. Had the 8 and the 9 backwards. Started on it in September, and that's this is, like, due to interference, and it's crazy. Like, when the government doesn't want you to get something done, if they're not attacking me with science, they're attacking the equipment that I'm using. So between a combination of those two, it's difficult, and I have to be extremely diligent, and I'm on foot. So I'm just gonna kind of skip through this a little bit. This is the same thing I said with what is gang stalking, and I never even got a chance to complete that project. I've already said that this project right here, the video that you're watching right now, is going to be an incomplete project. So note that right now, that you're going to end up having to read the outline, because I'm not going to get a chance to finish the outline in a video type of format. So you will have to read to get the rest of this information. And I'm on a strict timeline right now that I've extended twice. I've extended it twice. Originally, I was supposed to be done with all of this by the 12th of November, and that was extended about a week, out to the 18th, 19th of November. And then I extended it again to the 25th, and I don't think that's only 2 extensions. I can't afford for there to be a third. So right now I'm working with 4 days. Like I said, it's the 21st. I got about 4 days. So yeah. Unfortunately, in part B, I was going to do that video over, but I don't have the time to. It's hard enough. It took me 2 hours, or almost 2 hours, to get those 19 minutes done. So and this is what I have to go. This is as far as I got yesterday. This is about 15 pages, and that's why I say I'm not going to be able to read all of this. You're going to have to read in between, and there's really important information in here. I'm going to try my best to touch on the topics that are necessary, like parallel reality in the neighborhood. Like the neighbors, all the attacks that are being made right now is all about the neighborhood. They don't want me to mention how they've been inverting the neighbors by keeping me to the same and attacking me with science. And stealing my items to sacrifice it for and using them as sacrifices. So let me turn the camera around. So, like I said, I'm going to attempt to read through as much of this as I possibly can. And you're going to have to read, and that's the whole reason that I scripted this and was trying to put it intended on putting it in a video format, because I know people don't like to read. And I also know, well, I'm going to talk about perception management a little bit here. Let me get on with it. Okay, so I left off talking about moderate and severe were the two types of demon possession that I found exist, which is opposite of the textbook answer. Severe historically has been established as an issue Soviet officials faced. The fear of the identity being re-imaged or ruining the image's credibility by changing the mind, neural networks in their cases. Today, the most obvious display of demon possession is LGBTQ. The most doubted expression is your mom and dad because they don't have conflicting sex orientation. Both are used for the workforce. Moderate would be those who have been labeled mentally ill. No matter how extreme the illness, their behavior has been coined a mental disorder. Another way to look at severe versus moderate would be faking balance. It's always about behavior in the workforce with the government. Together they exist to fake balance. Employment versus disability. The world is full of humbugs, evil and malicious spirits who have been designed to convey expressions they by nature cannot. With all of the footwork I've done over 3.5 years, I have not gotten one human response. I've gotten guys that were interested in me, but none that saw what was being done to me as a problem that also affected them. I only took numbers to trash or later incriminate them. I have not spoken to one female that grew concerned for her child based on what I was revealing. I have met about 4 agents. That could very well be one agent that's using different identities who wouldn't deny the truth. A Satanist that will attest to the truth, but in all actuality cannot view the situation as a problem because he secretly sees me as the problem. Demon possession was normalized when they set forth laws and rights for LGBTQ. They revised the DSM-15 to no longer reflect the image of LGBTQ as a mental illness because they found in that conflicting view was conducive for the changes that they were trying to make to the workforce and move towards a new world order. Today, LGBTQ makes up 25% of 331 million. So that's about 82,750,000. So along with establishing these rights came a demand for the least likely to succeed and those who looked even odder. Those that these new millennials were looking just like the cartoon characters. As the end of a 25,992 year cycle approached, agencies opened up a Stargate in 2008. Opening a Stargate is opening a demon portal for those that operate in denser parts of the earth. The government has been lying about earth and planetary design for a really, really long time. Okay, so like I said, they've been lying about planetary design. And you've probably heard the expression that in order for another planet to form, one planet must die. And that's really acknowledging the same thing, the end of the 25,996 year cycle. And it's also acknowledging what they refer to as a natural disaster. Let me find a picture. So it's something like this, history just repeating itself over and over again by enslaving the same bloodline. The summons that the nationality Moors are referring to is my bloodline, of which only 2 remains, and my +1 is possessed. 1 is always possessed, which means it won't see a problem with the ways of the world, while I, the daughter, and head does. I have a problem with every fucking thing. So, to maintain interest, they call her I and I, her. To align that lie, they've attacked my appearance. So, they're fighting me over my bloodline's identity, which is now my mom and I's identity. This is an extremely dark age because there is no other universe than this one, and they know there's no repeating the cycle. So during the end time, Satan is opening a stargate that occupies the bodies of Earth's occupants to try and bully the Holy Spirit. My bloodline, I am the only one that can create, which is where a planet must die before another one can be created, comes from. During this time, give me 1 second. And during this time, they separate us, my mom and I. If you've ever wondered why the world of politics became a mockery, why your children are so different today than they were a decade ago, it's because Satanists have a revolving cycle to escape the Holy Spirit. They're attacking my throat chakra. I was saying that it's because Satanists have a revolving cycle to escape the Holy Spirit. It's called the Milankovitch cycle. The Milankovitch cycles, astrology and law go hand in hand. In case you haven't noticed, evils don't even entertain the idea of Christ returning. In this day and age, they only regard the end times with the same covert statement. Satan's time is up. Yeah, but his time is about up. They all say the same thing. So let's look at some more numbers. And what is gang stalking? A few topics I discuss are Eve, mitochondrial Eve, my bloodline, the Bible being Satan's book to his people, the reason you're told in the first book, Genesis, that you're made out of sin, your God being a genetic engineer, also known as government ordnance departments, manning the science associated with making a people. Hence, the story Yaqub and Yashmael, allegorical characters, also known as Jacob and, I forget the other name, and Shem and Ham in the island of Patmos. Speaking of the government, that's who your biblically referenced immortals are. In the last book, the book of Revelations, they mention 144,000 servants of God. The acronym God, once again, stands for Governmental Ordnance Departments, the Antichrist. The government is the Antichrist. Associated, so anyhow, these 144,000 servants of God are associated with 12 tribes, 12 in each, equaling 144,000. These are Satanists that realize that heaven really is a place on earth. So, it's always been about maintaining dominion, and the law, maintaining dominion and law. These are all these things they've put in place to keep this and shrink the bloodline that it belongs to. So, world population is 7.8 billion. I talked about them, their numbers are always wrong. They never report. You can never find consistency in their numbers. They keep really bad numbers. Like, it's horrible. So, anyhow, of that 7.8 billion, the U.S. makes up 331 million. Of that, the U.S. makes up 331 million. So if you divide that 331 million, there's a big gap in between that, but I'll leave it right there. If you divide that 331 million into 144,000, you get 2,299, which means that each of these agents would be associated with or responsible for that many people. But it's far worse than that. That would be like a reflection of timelines and dimensions, you know, like how many places they could exist at the same time according to membranes. That's what that number would be. So, but if you divide 7.8 billion, the world population, into that same number, you get 50,694. You know, it's all about numbers. This is no different than anyone who's ever done payroll or any type of job where you manage accounts. You manage multiple accounts with thousands of people in them. And when you have the type of technology that they have to assist, this is nothing. So the fake and balancing that I was discussing, in the US, 331. Here's your numbers. Disability and employment, 178 million are on Social Security, 155 million are employed. It's a revolving cycle. Okay, so that's it for the disclaimer and background information. Starting with the update, I haven't done one since March. So my last has been like just about 7 months ago. It was 283U as in uniform 11. Update 3/25/2020. So the last one I done was on the 25th of March this year. This video is an overview of, that video that I did was an overview of what I was working on at the time. And during that time, I was getting organized. I was gathering and consolidating paperwork, research, and related topics. Following that, I made a 2-part video in May that was titled 22 Days Inside, Falsifying Encounters A and B, Part A and B, discussing my prep and pursuit for legal measures against the following entities for the noted reasons. In that video, I acknowledged witnessing changes in the neighborhood. I've been at my current address, 315 Upland Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44301, a duplex. My apartment's upstairs, for a year and 11 months, almost 2 years. I moved in December 19th, 2018. Now, these details that I'm giving surrounding topics like this it's necessary for you, the public, to know, but it's more so for elite entities because those are the ones that are acting like they're being fooled. You get what I'm saying? This is all information that they know and they're acting like they don't know. So they're going to act like there's a group that was getting the wrong intel and they had no clue. I'm telling you already what they're going to do when this gets out. Okay, so what kept my pursuit from happening? The government interfered and interrupted everything I was doing between June and now. The government interfered and interrupted everything I was doing between June and now. It has been nothing but interference for over 3.5. Oh, my throat. It has been nothing but interference for over 3.5 years. Straight. In fact, the interference, the government brought themselves and all of you about 3 years. Nonetheless, despite of being attacked every single day in a range of ways with science, I have been extremely diligent. None of this reflects or factors in scientific attacks, direct energy weapons, cloning. Therefore, it does not factor in the extensive amount of time it took to do or complete a little. Does that make sense? Because the information that I'm disclosing to you right now, the displays that you're going to see, does not reflect or factor in scientific attacks, which is direct energy attacks and cloning. Therefore, there's no way to factor in the extensive amount of time it took to do or complete a little. I probably could have worded that better. Anyhow, otherwise I work extremely quick. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second here, so it'll become clearer if that's just too jumbled. But otherwise I work extremely quick. You can imagine. I'm going to let you look at that for a little bit. Just in case you don't know what legal malpractice and medical malpractice are and the type of nuisance that can exist. Okay, so this is the type of interference that I was experiencing. And you can imagine with that type of interference going on, it makes it difficult, nearly impossible to get anything done. And I'm just going to give you a second to read this, but I would never dare go to court unprepared. Okay, so in addition to interference, there's things like battery and radar. You know, they are able to manipulate. As you see, I have 71% right now. They could easily change that to 20, or they could do it over a short period of time, like just drain it excessively. You know, where it just every minute is like it drops, or every half a minute it drops, maybe 5-10%. You know, they control those things by having unauthorized remote access to the phone. The radar is a big thing. When they're lying about where I am, they take me completely off the radar. Sometimes it's just done, you know, in a way that I can't even tell that it's being done. Other times they turn my phone off so that it doesn't register anywhere. It just depends on which agency is making the attack, I suppose, or, you know, which agency they're using to make the attack. So the government is equipped to power the phone on and off, add features that make it appear that you have a more recent model of the phone. You know, sometimes my phone can do things that it didn't do before, and sometimes they revert it back to where, you know, none of the features that I had gotten used to is available anymore. So capable of more than, oh yeah, so a recent model, one that's capable of more than it is. Restarting the phone, installing end dates is like a forced install update. Like they just, when they decide for whatever reason, they update the phone. And I had two phones for almost a year, a little over a year. And I'm gonna talk about that. They stole one of those too, but they were doing the same thing with both phones. It's just that other phone, the Alcatel that they stole on the 23rd of September this year to sacrifice, that phone, with that phone, they weren't lying about my location as much. So for them to make it disappear, you know, an agency found out that it was the end and they're out. Okay, so removing videos as soon as I make them. removing and installing files. But that whole radar thing is the most disturbing. That means no network could track me. But I'm not in one of those situations where I'm subject to abduction. Like it's just the government is not gonna ever kidnap me. The government is not gonna ever kidnap me. Um, so I'm alone 100% of the time. I am isolated. The worst things you can think of happening, like writing, posting, and publishing one thing, and when you review it later, it's different. It has grammar or spelling errors. They had a way of hiding edits on the screen. So when I make an edit, the edit would show. When I print, it was like the edit was never made. So it was kind of like hiding the old copy in the background and printing the old copy. And this is what they were doing to formal complaints at a time where I didn't have money to print. But they were trying to shape how they wanted the appropriate parties, them posing as themselves, to view the matter. So spelling and grammar errors that would affect the way non-human entities saw the situation. One of the topics I discussed is perception management, also known as mind control, recurrent. Agents were just trying to make sure they didn't have to report what I was working on by making sure that the files were unavailable. That's a little... Anyhow, it took me a while to come to grips with the fact that people are not able to read without bias, meaning that they can't read a statement without their demons affecting how you perceive the matter. You're not able to read without your demons affecting how you perceive the matter. So in 2018, I spent a lot of time attempting to correct how they sabotaged my writing. Like I've been going to college on and off since 2004 or 5. Like most recently 2016 to about January 2017, I believe. Straight A student, so I write really good papers. I said all that to say that I can write. Anyhow, and I've never had a problem with writing. I write in a way that it gets around perception management. But during that time, they were calling me my brother and calling him me. So my writing was looking like how he writes. And if you look at old Facebook comparisons, you'll see that. You'll see that I'm able to write in a way that it resonates with literally anyone, and that he was writing in a way that you just... It said mental illness. So and I said that not... You got to understand that there's two things to look at, because I'm not saying that I was writing like mental illness, or like when I say that, I'm saying that there's a way to arrange words. We don't use the same type of lingo, so that's what separated us. Like his mental illness from my sanity. So there's like irration in his writing and stuff like that. But I noticed a pattern in the way that the words were arranged, and this is like not in that with the absence of the ignorant lingo. You get what I'm saying? Like, I still saw that in the writing. And you will too when you look at it and compare it. And then you'll be like, oh, I see exactly what she means. So anyhow, moving on. So I spent a lot of time trying to rewrite and attempt to correct how they were sabotaging my writing. It's an area that I never had a problem in. They were paying me as him and him as I. I put this information. Do I want to talk about the stolen devices? No, I think that's just there for you to see. These are the roadblocks that I experienced. And that doesn't do it any justice. These are the projects that I've worked on. I've been fighting from the beginning since this started. And I put this in a basic format instead of a Gantt chart because the entire world is not familiar with Gantt charts. The way and the manner in which the government is and has been attacking me day in and day out is all about shrinking the projects. They shrink whatever I'm working on. There's so much information that could have went into a video like this that they made sure, well, not, like, it's in storage now. You get what I'm saying? Like, so hold on. Uh-oh. Okay, so this time last year, I wrote a complaint to government agencies. They've been trying to realign the activity for this time frame. So they chipped my tooth. Last year, it was my partial that they broke. They stole a cell phone, you know, that Alcatel I was talking about in September, the 23rd of September, and used it as a sacrifice. Last year, it was an SD card. And then another SD card in like January. It's crazy. And the entire time they were making sure that none of the information got out. Like where you see this composing videos, iMovie processor, green room, that's where I was going to do the divine disclosure type videos. That was supposed to have be a series of 2 through 9. 2 through 9. Right now it's 2 through 6 with 7 having like an update. All the information, all those videos, all that content, all those SD cards are in storage right now. So it means none of it has hit the internet, and because none of it has hit the internet, the government is acting like it never took place. Okay, so mundane. I included mundane because, believe it or not, the mundane is exactly what the system of politics, also known as the world of mental illness, uses in part to shelter themselves and discredit the alleged. So, how you're affected by and how you handle mundane affairs could support claims that you are that could support claims that are an attack on your mental capacity. You know, like with all that the government is doing to people, you should be affected by it, and it should affect how you handle your affairs. They don't want you to be mad. They don't want you to feel. And the reality of it, like I said not too long ago, is you can't feel. But right now, while this system of eugenics is in place, like if that's what they're designing these entities to be like, you get what I'm saying? Like, when wrong is done to you, you're supposed to have feeling and the thought for reprimand, that's a human reaction. Like the devil want to disrespect you and shit, and they don't want to get fucked up. So anyhow, that's why I included the mundane. And they'll use that stuff against you to claim that you have poor insight, poor judgment, lack of capacity, do not have insight. You know, that's the type of stuff that they put on these documents that are an attack on the mind. An element that I did not mention, because I do not condone, is appointments with physicians, and that's actually a part of a lot of you is mundane. It's part of getting with the program, seeing physicians and having primary care. Before this began in March 2017, I did not have a primary care. I got one April 2017 because it was the only way that I could document what the government was doing in a way that they would recognize it. You get what I'm saying? So to get to a point where I could go the fuck off about the government was doing, like, that is what, you know, getting a primary care was one of the things that I felt would suit Black Mouse. Oh yeah, short-term experiments. I didn't make a complete video about the Black and Miles one, but I am not. Like I said, this is my last video. Maybe I'll talk about it once I get out of jail. The Black and Miles thing has everything to do with the neighborhood and who these identities in the neighborhood represent. Something else. There was something else I wanted to say about that. Oh, I'll get to it. Okay, so appearance. Hey. Both of those photos are from 2019, summer 2019, June and July. This one is from 2000, end of 2017, maybe the beginning of 2018. And I'm going to show some more pictures in a little bit. So how is my health? I just got off the, situation about, or talking about, what I don't condone in and the mundane. How is my health through all of this? Keep in mind, this is an update. So I'm updating you on everything, and it's kind of lengthy. So they're making extreme attacks on my DNA. Ideally, to corrupt the code, you must remove powerhouse cells and add something malignant. I discussed that in the past, how the government has access to the body's 11 systems. So that should be a no-brainer. Because they have access to your mind, you should imagine that they have access to your 11 systems. As simple as that. I went into the how and what is gang stalking. Keep in mind that the changes that I'm discussing are acknowledging the changes that I saw take place right away over recent years. This started in 2017. I'm documenting the changes that I noticed. It's right away, and ongoing, like just the things that have been done since this started. This is not acknowledging my complete genetic makeup. Is what they're trying to keep from expressing itself. They don't want my complete genetic makeup to show. So 2019, 2017, 18. Watch this. The claim was that there's extreme attacks on my DNA, right? When they're cursing and spelling me to receive favor, that could be landing a contract, landing a lease, leasing contract. Same, that's crazy. So anyhow, I'll get into all that. This is the type of stuff that's taking place. My appearance is not the same all the time. My appearance is not consistent. It's sabotage. And all the time, since last year, they've been calling me other folks. I'm trying to find some more extreme things. And this is what a day after Walmart is like. The one where you see my mouth is slightly open. This day I went to Walmart. This is how I look the next day. And under normal circumstances, I look the same when I wake up as I did when I go to sleep. Unfortunately, this doesn't have the photos from last year, so I can't factor those in. So, look at my facial expressions. The expression that I'm expressing does not change. My appearance changes, and that expression does not look the same. Okay, these photos, keep in mind that this is an adult conversation, so be mature about it. Like, I would never otherwise have shown pictures like these, but that's the type of stuff that they were doing. My skin got dark in the areas where they were plugging in and stealing DNA. And fat injections, not even, it was the malignant stuff that they were putting in place. Like, they weren't, that made my butt ripple. So they were putting cellulite in a way on me. This is collective in a way. Like, some of these pictures are from this is 2019, 7/26. And in this photo, I was showing how they were attacking my nervous system, and it was showing in the front of my stomach, like the area where they were extracting power cells from grew lighter. Sometimes they have a variety of ways to make the same attack. It's horrible, horrible stuff. When they were trying to get the females in the neighborhood out of their domestic situations, they started suggesting that I was them and that they were I, to obviously raise their value and get, so they would receive favor. So this is the type of stuff that they were doing to me, cursing and spelling. I'm going to talk about what it means to curse and spell in a little bit. And this too, just like stolen devices or stolen material, is a form of sacrifice. And they were doing this to me to get out of situations. And, a lot of people will want to say, well, this is like, what time? 6 a.m. It started about 4, and they just kept making it worse and worse, and I was recording it the entire time. That's the case. When they gave me wingworms, I did the same thing. That video is supposed to start moving. A lot of these photos are on Facebook. I have a post. It's April 12th, 2000 and... Oh my goodness. Hold on, I'll tell you in a second where you can find this. This is another day they swallowed my lip. And they were just doing it over and over again to get them out of these domestic situations. Wingworm. That just cleared up. Like, matter of fact, I still have some of the marks on me. This was done in February of 2020. It's November. I still got some of the fucking marks on me. And like I said, sometimes the attacks were done over and over again. Here we go. April 26, 2018. I saw them removing the date from my memory. I couldn't recall, so I had to find it. But this post right here, it has like a lot of the things that were being done. So it's evidential. That makes it evidential. It's time and dated references. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say that there's extreme attacks taking place on my DNA. They want to feel good everywhere that they are. And the wicked principles changed as soon as I didn't have money. The wicked principles changed. So, and what is gain stalking? Oh, I already said that. I'm still on foot. Back to the... That's ridiculous. Back to the update. I'm still on foot. My appetite is good. However, I am experiencing, despite me experiencing some of the most inhumane things that could ever happen to the body being invaded by science and magic. I'm not going to discuss it all, but I'm going to tell you this much. Who in the fuck do you think is going to keep letting these retarded ass fucking creatures give them shots in their vagina? The government is sick as fuck. They give me shots. They're allowing me to feel them give me shots in my vagina. And looking at me not have an outlet for the anger. So they're doing it on purpose and digging into the back of the clone and talking shit at the same fucking time that I'm already mad. They're inhumane as fuck. But anyhow, I'm not about to keep going through this shit. I am not. Um, there's, they absolutely enjoy themselves by doing something to me that I cannot protect myself from. So anyhow, nonetheless, um, I'm about to go through the different parts of the system and the body system and tell you, you know, what's going on. But in real life, no, dude, I have no problems. In this world of torture, temporary ones manifest or exist. You know, but like it's crazy. If I were to go to the hospital, they wouldn't allow anything to show unless, you know, that's too much to talk about. Anyhow, weight. Starting with the lymphatic system. They've been refusing to remove the fat, and they've been lying about taking the fat off and taking it off of other folks. It doesn't appear that they've been administering any since around May 2020. I stopped keeping track of it like I was. There's a few things that I stopped keeping track of last year. So December 2019, I stopped keeping an end of month roll up. I stopped keeping a food diary, and I stopped keeping a hold on. And I stopped journaling. I just picked back up journaling, like I said, probably September time frame, like on paper again. Prior to that, I was just noting stuff in my planner. So this weight thing, they literally have been maintaining the weight to maintain their desired look. So I weighed myself for the first time in a long time a few days ago. And when I say a few days ago, I wrote this in September. So that was sometime in September that I weighed myself, and I was 201. Prior, they had injected fat up to 208 pounds, about 55 pounds heavier than I should be for my intake and exercise. So currently I'm about 55, pounds heavier, and they're maintaining that. So my normal for me is like 170. 180 for me is big. The amount of walking I've done over 3 years, I should be like 140, 150 pounds. It's mathematics. So when you look at something like this, that's calculating, you know, the number of calories that's being burned, the number of miles, you know, and stuff like that is easy. It's simple math. And if you were to compare my food diary when I was keeping one, you can find that information on Twitter. If you were to compare that information with, you know, the numbers that I've made available, you would come to the same conclusion. So, on average, I'm walking about 1,080 to 1,150 miles a year. The photo is it's not completely accurate. I installed the app May 2019, so it reflects most of that time. Numbers associated with the years total for 2018 and 19 are on Twitter. And I won't be calculating 2020. Yeah. Immune system is obviously being attacked, if my lymph is. So just not in the form of ailment and disease, you know. In case you haven't figured it out by now, they are not able to harm me. This is all about torture. So, the nervous system is the primary system that the government attacks. Moving on to the nervous system, that's the primary one that they attack. It seems like the one that they decide to start with whenever they're trying to create some sort of ailment or disease or involuntary movement just to affect the way that something is functioning. And that's where they do it. And it's there because, there's things that they want there, so they'll play something to take something. As far as sensory perception goes, that's where you would manipulate it. So the same 5 senses that you learn about in elementary school are the ones that the government violates. What you do and don't smell, to what extent, what you do and don't taste, to what extent, hearing, seeing, and feeling the same. Hearing, seeing, and feeling the same. Whether you do or don't, and to what extent. So look, this video is 55 minutes so far, well 56. I'm going to encourage you to read the rest of the things. You know how my integumentary system, which is my skin, nails, and hair, respiratory system, skeleton system, muscular system, circulatory system, digestive system, urinary system, reproductive system, endocrine system has been attacked. Teeth and brains. I mean, not brains. Teeth and brain. In my case, membranes. It's disturbing, really. The devil hates me, hates me and loves what it can create with my bloodline's DNA. So there's vast interest in our embryos. You can't create stem. You can't. So without our human model, they wouldn't know how to replicate something that was similar. So yeah, anyhow, I encourage you to read that. I'm going to move on to parallel reality, and I'm actually going to start that in another video.